OpenAI has introduced new exciting feature called GPTs. With GPTs, you could basically create your own custom ChatGPT, and you could customize it with your own data and your own set of instructions. This would be your own mini ChatGPTs for your specific use cases. So we're going to build a real analytical GPT app with both public and private data APIs. I'm going to walk you through building it from start to finish, explaining some of the key concepts along the way. And at the end, you will get a URL to play with the GPT, and you can share with your friends. This tutorial will be hands-on, interactive, and hopefully fun as well too. Let's get started. So first, I will give you an overview of what we're going to build today. So at the high level, I'm going to build a custom and analytical GPT. It reads the data from several public APIs and a set of private APIs. This is just a very classic solution and solve real problems. So by connecting the GPT and the real-time data APIs, we ensure that it can analyze and interpret the most current data, comparing to just a plain generic ChatGPT, which always has the limitation that only relies on the model that it was trained by a specific time period. Accessing real-time data makes the insights and the recommendations incredibly accurate, timely, and valuable. So with this pattern, what is the actual app we are going to build? I name it Open Source Benchmark. I work for the open source company, and I'm solving a real problem from my day-to-day work. It reads the data from GitHub, OSSInsight, and my own private data APIs. So let's do it. So first, click Create GPT here, and it brings you here. And you could just use plain natural language to build your own GPT. And I will just go ahead to the Configure tab to manually fill in the instructions. So as we just mentioned, the name of the GPT is Open Source Benchmark. And it's all about, description is all about compare open source projects. So you can put whatever what description you want, and with that, you can just give an icon of that. So here, you can either upload a photo or use DALL-E to generate an AI image for you. So I will just click that. So I guess based on the name and the description, it will give me an icon of the app. So next step, I'm going to put the instructions for my GPTs. So basically, in the instructions, we should let the GPT know how it should behave. So basically, I'm going to say you are a data scientist and or data analysis expert, and define the workflow. And the output format. I won't go through the details. Is you can just copy paste from the link I provided. So in the video description, so here's the instruction. You can tell you are a data analysis expert, and with all the details below. So next, I will put a conversation starter. So basically, that will be some of the famous open source project I like to compare with. I will just put the names here. And for the capabilities, don't forget to check the code integrator. So it's data scientist work. You want to make sure your AI can run code, analyze data, and do some of the very complicated math here. Let's move to the best part, create new action. This is magic to let your GPT to retrieve data from the APIs. So I will hit the button. You can see it asks you for the schema, authentication, and the privacy policy. Let's conquer them one by one. So first, we were going to get the APIs from the OSSInsight. So basically, this is a public website for you to discover some of the very meaningful open source project. It always has the API and some of the beautiful charts. So the first API we're going to add here is a beautiful chart from this amazing website. The API gives you the chart history, the history of the star numbers. Let me scroll down a little bit. So basically, this is the chart we are looking for. For me, this is super helpful when the data set is relevantly big. I always encounter errors when asking GPT to generate a chart from the raw data in real time. So here with this API, you can tweak it for your own purposes. Let's say we want to compare two projects together. You can change the color scheme, you can get the code, and for various purposes. So I will just put the API schema here. You can find in the instruction. And given it's a public API, you don't need authentication. You just click test. You are able to see you get the exact same chart comparing to the playground on the website. The next API we are going to add here is a API from GitHub. So GitHub provides a set of public APIs about specific GitHub repository, the followers, the start history, some of the metadata of the repository you specify there. So basically, if you look at the GitHub data API user doc, you need to authorize the API. So here, I will just go back to my open source benchmark. I go back to the actions, section and create a new action. So here we will again copy paste the schema from the GitHub and do the authentication here. So basically, this is the schema file I grabbed from the GitHub. And also I have to do the authentication to retrieve the data from GitHub. So here in the authentication, I click this button. I will use the API key, and for if you look at the GitHub user doc, you have to use a period authentication type for authentication. So save it. You can click the test button, and you can see the result. All right, it works. You can tell it gathers the data from GitHub besides, TensorFlow and the PyTorch about some of the basic information. Now it's time to add a set of private APIs. So here we're going to leverage TiDB Cloud Data Service. It's a fully managed service that can turn your data into APIs within just a few clicks by leveraging the power of AI. Plus, it offers operational features like scalability, high availability, security, reliability, and observability, all out of the box. And it natively works with ChatGPT. So I have a set of APIs already built here. You can tell there are 5 APIs. Basically translate the SQL queries into RESTful APIs. Here, we will just focus on how to use them in GPTs. But if you want to build your own APIs from your own data for free, definitely check the link in the video description. Here comes the best part. I have 5 private APIs, which can get Stargazer, Geo, and company distribution, start history, and the curated Hacker News mention counts. To get this API work with my GPT, just find the integrate with GPTs like this, and hit the button, get the URL here, and paste it back, into the my open source benchmark GPTs. So I hit the import button. Boom! Those 5 open APIs become available actions immediately. Next, for authentication, just go back to the TiDB Cloud Data Service. You can generate an API key and put a name for this. Click Next. And you got the API key encoded here. Copy the API key back to the authentication and put it here and click Save. Now it's time to see how things work perfectly together. Go back to the open source benchmark, and I will save the application only for me, and save it. And go back to the ChatGPT. It shows it's developed by me, and you can compare open source projects. So let's ask my GPT how TiDB compares with Vitus. Both of them are popular CNCF open source projects and can solve MySQL scalability problems. So this GPT immediately gives the framework, which contains several steps, including the plan, the action, the output, the deeper insight. So I'm the boss of the GPT. I don't care how it works. I just watch the outcome. So let's scroll down. You can see some of the initial open source metrics. TiDB get 35,000 of stars, while Vitus get 17,000 or something. Both projects are using Go primary language as the primary programming language and uses the same license. Next section, let's look into the Hacker News mentions. It shows TiDB a strong presence in tech discussions, indicating a broader community interest in the potential use cases. And next, you can see the Stargazer's company distribution. It highlights the global reach of both TiDB and Vitus, with both having the substantial presence in some of the big tech companies here. So lastly, it gives additional suggestions, like looking into stock share for additional technology insights and user reviews. Let's wrap it up. We have just talked about how to build advanced analytical GPTs, works like a senior data scientist to solve real-world problems by utilizing data from both public and private sources, and is extremely swift to leverage TiDB Cloud Data Service to build custom GPTs with its native OpenAI integration. I put the open source benchmark GPT link below. Feel free to play with it and let us know how you feel. And if you want to build your own, you can also find all links, resources, API specs down below in the video description. That's it for today. See you next time.